Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is Ryan McCartney. Ryan is an entrepreneur, a sales professional, and a fellow Melbourne resident, and also a connection of mine from LinkedIn. And we've had a bit of a connection recently. He's just started up his own business. And I'm looking forward to having a chat today with him, finding out a bit more about what he's been up to, how it's all going, what the vision is, and just getting stuck into a few sort of sales related topics. So, Ryan, with that introduction, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
Yeah, beautiful, Joe. Thank you. Thanks for that kind introduction. Yeah, look, everything's been going quite well so far. Yeah, well, as you just touched on before, I watched a lot of your videos on LinkedIn, and I love the way you sort of conduct podcasts. So I thought I'd get in on the ground level before you get a bit too big, as we spoke about just before. So, but yeah, look, I'm a sales professional. I've been in sales for about 12 years now. Um, Essentially, I've started a business called Hunter Sales Academy. That's pretty much what I've started so far. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, you're most welcome, mate. And I'm not sure about before we get too big. I'm not sure. We'll see. But let's let's start. Let's start in the present. You have recently launched this business, Hunter Sales Academy.
Yeah,
For those
correct.
who may don't know, maybe include myself.
Mhm.
What is Hunter Sales Academy, and how do you help people?
Yeah, sure. So look, Hunter Sales Academy is it's a training program that I've created. It's a training business. Essentially, the goal is to get more
Yeah,
people into sales. So we train anyone from any walks of life. They could be a graduate to a school leaver, to somebody that wanting to change jobs. Essentially, we train them. We give them all the skills they need, and then we place them into their first role as well. So we look after everything from prospecting to closing, to networking, to how to close deals more effectively. We pretty much give them the tool set they need to perform as soon as they get their first sales job.
yeah, gotcha. So is it like a sort of B2C you could sell to essentially anyone? Are you pitching this at businesses, or are you pitching this at anyone who fancies a bit of sales training, really?
Yeah, so look, it's an interesting concept, Joe, because the sales training is completely free. I don't charge my students at all, right? So it's free
Oh, right.
sales
Okay.
training. It doesn't cost them anything. So it's actually open to anyone that wants to get into sales. And essentially, it's free training. It's about 3 weeks long. We do 2 week of online training, and then we do 1 week of role playing as well to make sure they're drilled and ready to go. But yeah, it is open to everyone. I wanted to make it that way as a free, only because of sort of how I started my sales career. I wanted it to be available to anybody that thought they wanted to get into sales, or ever
Yeah.
met somebody that was in sales as well. So that's the reason why I sort of positioned it that way.
And as a business, and I've got to ask, how's it going to sort of make money?
Yeah,
What's the
great.
sort of
No,
business, I guess, behind it?
absolutely, absolutely. So essentially, how we make money is we train them, and then we place them into organizations that need entry level sales staff. But we don't just leave them. Uh,
Oh,
we
okay.
support we support them all the way through to probation. So we do weekly sales calls with them, weekly coaching. So we pretty much look after them all the way until they pass probation.
Yeah. So it's all similar to recruitment, I guess. So is that how you're
Yeah.
making the money? You're getting a fee
Well,
from your
essentially,
clients
yeah.
who.
Correct, Joe. Look, it would be similar to recruitment
Mm,
in terms of contracts we have with companies that need entry level sales staff, but
yeah.
what we do, I think the difference is that support that we have on the back end. So with recruitment, and look, it might be different in your business, Joe, but as you know, you place somebody, you normally have a caveat on that if they drop out in the first 30 days or 6 months, you replace that candidate. We have something similar, but we're in their back pocket the whole way through. So from 3 months to 6 months, we're there the whole way.
Yeah.
So, and look, and that's where the business really came from, right? If you look at sales statistics and dropouts of new salespeople, so I think 38% of new salespeople drop out of their job within the first year. If you look at the first 90 days, so the first 3 months, about 45% of them, of that 38% drop out within the first 3 months. So if I can help in any way to sort of improve that retention rate of the new sales staff with the ongoing support that we provide at HSA, that's pretty much the vision of the business. Sure.
Yeah, just going off on a bit of a tangent there, but that's interesting. So that high dropout rate, why do you think that is? Why do you think so many, I guess people don't make it or make the cut, whatever?
Look, I think it comes down to quite a few different reasons. Obviously, some people just aren't cut out for sales. That's a black and white way to look at it. Another way is, sales is hard enough, right? Joe, I know as well. When you get into a new sales role, especially if you haven't done it before, it's a very steep learning curve, right? You got to jump on the phone, you got to prospect, you've got to handle objections. You would have handled objections in your life, but constant no's and no's, it really grinds people down. So I think it's, and companies do obviously offer training and support, but they can only offer so much because at the end of the day, when they hire a sales staff member, for a company, it's how quick can we get them on the phone? How quick can we pay back our investment, right? So, average company is spending around sort of $3,000 in training on their staff. But after that, it really just comes down to, well, if you're not meeting it, then you're not meeting it, right? So at the end of the day, and this is, again, just to tie back into sort of why I'm doing this as well, is that we want to set them all up for everything before they get to that entry point. Ideally, the idea is that we partner with companies, and then we take some of their sales methodologies, some of their training into our training. So essentially, we can shorten their onboarding. So I suppose hire to phone from say 3 weeks or a month to maybe 2 weeks. So again, they can get on the phone quicker. The company can make money quicker. These people are supported a lot quicker as well. And just to touch on that as well, with why people drop out, they are getting support from the companies. I understand that. I'm not underselling that or undervaluating that. But again, some of these people that are starting with new companies, they don't want to ask the silly questions. They don't want to look dumb. You know what I mean? And that's where we're the sort of second voice in the background that they can ask, they can bounce things off, we can help them with as well. So we want to sort of hold their hand. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. So early days then, just going back to your business, early days, I appreciate it. But how is it going so far? How are you finding it?
Yeah, look, it's going really well. Our training's been received quite well. I've got about 15 students at the moment that's going through the training. It is good. I'm obviously getting people from all different walks of life that have never done sales before. Some people have entered the course and thought, you know what, this is not for me, and that's great as well, right? So because at the end of the day, sales isn't for everybody. If it was easy, Joe, everyone would be doing it. Like what could be more cushy than sitting on your computer making sales and getting paid commission? It's on paper it looks awesome, doesn't it? But we know that it's long hours. It's a lot of sort of resilience that you need, but it's a skill that sets you up for life, I think.
Yeah, gotcha. So what's the sort of plan to grow the business? And I appreciate early days, like I said.
Yeah.
What's the sort of vision? Where do you see this going?
Yeah. So look, essentially, within the first year, we want to place. We're looking anywhere from sort of 50 to 80 students into entry level sales roles. That's the forecast for the first year. Whether we'll make it there or not, who knows? A forecast is a forecast, Joe. Exactly like the sales target, I suppose. But look, that's essentially where we want to go. We want to get, with obviously iterations, we want to get better and better at our training. We want to build better relationships with the businesses that we're placing our staff in, and that sort of builds onto the back of what I was saying before about using some of their methodologies and some of their practices in the training of our staff, so they can get on the phone quicker.
Yeah. And where are you sort of finding that most of your time is going at the moment? Are you just trying to get the business off the ground? Is it winning your clients? Is it, is it working on the training? Is it delivering the training? Is it, I guess I can imagine you're sort of maybe getting pulled a little bit all over the place. Where's most of your time being spent?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, At the moment, yeah, I'm doing everything. I'm creating the training, delivering the training, onboarding the students. Um,
Yeah,
doing business development myself, obviously. And just trying to
yeah,
pull it all together. So it's a bit of a. Have you ever seen that expression of the chef carrying too many plates or spinning plates? It's a bit like that. You don't want any to
yeah,
fall to the ground, but some of them fall to the ground. And you're like, oh well,
yeah,
you learn something from that. So but yeah, look, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's what I've always wanted to do is sort of get more people into sales. It's provided a good life for
yeah.
me, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the future.
In terms of that future, then growing the business, moving
Mm.
it forward, what do you see your biggest challenge to be? What is sort of forecast there?
Yeah, so I think our biggest challenge will be scaling, I suppose. Only because I'm a sort of a one-man
Yeah,
band at the moment. Scaling to get enough businesses on board. See, I don't have an issue with students. As I said, we've got 15 students going through at the moment. I've got another 50 that we're about to sort of get on board. We've got very good students coming through. It's just about meeting that need in the market as well.
and what made you do this? You had a corporate sales job before.
Mhm.
I'm always interested in when people do something like this and just start their own thing. And
Yeah,
um, what was the sort of you've touched upon your vision. You love helping salespeople and doing that,
yeah,
but where did that sort of come from? I guess.
yeah. So just a little bit about my background, Joe. So I was a school leaver. I dropped out when I think I was about 15 years old. I was quite young, and I sort of didn't know, had no direction in life. Didn't really know what I was doing. I think I had 3 apprenticeships that I tried out, and that didn't work for me. And then I had my first
Mm.
sales job when I was about 19. I quit that within 2 weeks. It wasn't for me. Then I had another sales job. Again, wasn't for me. And then the third sales job actually clicked. Something clicked in my mind, and it sort of worked really well. But and ever since then, I've built quite a good career out of sales. But the reason why I wanted to start this was not only because I pretty much started from nothing as well. So I want to help other people that may not have a clear career path, may not have qualifications and degrees. Salespeople as a whole, they're sort of a bit of misfits, a bit of oddballs. I sort of want to help them. But not only that, every time I found myself whenever I was in a social setting or going down the pub or meeting some friends, and people would ask me, what do I do for a living? And I'd say, look, I'm in sales. And everyone was, very interested in sales. And I always used to get the comment, oh, I thought I could do sales, or I wish I could do sales, or I tried, it wasn't for me. Every time I spoke to somebody about that, I found I was always trying to persuade them into getting back into sales, and I was always saying, look, whatever you need, if it's tailoring your resume to get the sales job, if it's pre-work for your sales interview, I'll help you. If it's when you get the first script, I'll tell you exactly how to use it. I'll help you through your whole journey. So I was just doing that naturally, Joe, and I thought, um, you know, it's definitely one of my passions to sort of help people anyway. And I sort of put two and two together, and I thought, well, I can sort of check both boxes.
So there wasn't that sort of moment where you hear some people who start their own thing where they're just sort of fed up of the corporate being on that hamster wheel or whatever, that they just like, "Oh, enough of this, I'm gonna go do
Oh,
my
no,
own."
no,
It doesn't
no.
sound like it was quite like that.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
That was definitely one part of it. I've actually wanted to start a business for about 10 years as well. I just never. I was one of those guys,
mm,
Joe. I've had a lot of ideas, but an idea doesn't get you very far. And sort of, yeah. And
yeah,
and
yeah,
again, you're right. Being on the corporate hamster wheel, like the last company I worked for was a great company. They developed me into the salesperson and the sort of person I am today. But again, I've always wanted to work for myself, and this sort of just sort of worked that way.
yeah. I've always thought about that. As because for me, I've never quite felt like I've had that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm okay. I've never felt that, I guess. But I'm always interested when people. Have you always had that? Have you always had that? You've kind of always. It seems like you've always known at one point you're gonna do
Yeah,
your own thing.
yeah. I have. Ever since I was probably 18, I've always sort of felt that way. I remember. I think yeah, when I just got into my third sales job, from the other two ones that I quit quite early on. I wanted to build a
Yeah.
website called noxp.com.au. So essentially, what the website was going to be a website just for no experience jobs. So for people that don't have an experience to apply to these jobs. And it was funny.
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day, and I sort of all come around sort of full circle because that's sort of a bit of what I'm doing at the moment is getting people with no experience in sales and training them up. So yeah, I have always thought that way. It's funny that you say that you don't have that entrepreneurial entrepreneurial spirit. I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and he was like, "Oh, look, congratulations on starting something." He said, "Look, I would not ever want to start a business." And it was funny the way that you phrased it
Mm.
to me. I had the same thought in my mind, thinking, "What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? You're just happy to take a job? You know what I mean?"
Mm.
I suppose it works sort of both ways. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And just going back then to something else you were talking about when you were, say down the pub with your mates and,
Hmm.
sort of you were trying to convince them, to get into sales and maybe that, because it's something I've had, right? Where
Yeah.
people have been like, oh, I can never work in sales, or I can never do, a sales job or whatever. And I've thought about it and it's like, I don't know if you agree with this. I just think, well, I say to them, well, life is sales, right? Everything you're doing. I was like, what do you think you're doing when you're trying to, convince your mates to go out for a beer on a Saturday night, or when you're, chatting up that girl at the bar? Like you're selling every moment of the day in life. So I don't know if that's something that resonates with you. Like life is sales. So people who don't necessarily think that they're in sales have kind of got it wrong because you're you're selling all the time. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so true, right? Every transaction that you do with any business has some form of sales, some form of sales. And if you go to,
Mm,
the age old one is you go to McDonald's, every time you order something, they ask you to upsize it. You don't know you're being sold to them, but you are. That's a part
yeah.
of their processes. If you go to a flight, you got to book your tickets for your holiday at a flight agent. All of a sudden they've got all these great ideas for tours and add-ons, and you think, oh, they're just helping me. They're selling you. They're getting more money for everything that they add on, right? So I think, yeah, for the people that say, oh, I could never get into sales or anything like that. I don't think they fully understand that. Yeah, you're right. So everything is sales. There's no doubt
Mm,
about it. And
yeah.
it's a good way to look at things as well, because if
Yeah.
you think everything is sales, then you can start sort of seeing, you know, what different businesses or different people are doing to sort of get you. As I said, it could
Yeah.
be, you know, talking to your girlfriend to try and go to the pub on a Friday. That's still sales. You're still selling something, right? So
Yeah. Absolutely. So if you reflect on your your corporate career and your corporate sales, the companies you work from, what do you feel that you've maybe learned from those experiences that is now helping you in the new role with the new business, your own
yeah,
companies?
yeah, absolutely. So look, I've definitely developed the way that I sell. Because I've worked in so many different roles. Like I've sold commission only roles. I've sold advertising on bar runners. I've sold employment innovations. I've sold tech. I've sold SaaS. I've pretty much rolled it all into. I've got a pretty good understanding of sort of most spaces in the sales world. I also took a lot from my last couple of managers that I had at my last job. They sort of taught me a lot about what it takes to sort of lead a team. What a lot, I suppose a lot what it takes to lead people. Obviously, being a salesperson and then managing people, they're two different things. But the old traditional way is micromanagement and things like that. But that way never really worked with me with managers. They always sort of manage me a different way, and
Mm.
I'm sort of encompassing that into my business as well. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to that, I don't want to go on a tangent, but it all just comes down to um, playing to your team's strengths. So everybody has their own strengths, and if you can highlight that and you can validate that, you're going to get the most out of your team. And that's sort of what my training's about as well.
Yeah.
Is sort of highly, I try and pinpoint, what is your what is your strengths, and then we sort of tailor into that. But yeah, if to answer your question, Joe, I've definitely got sort of leadership, and then a more well-rounded sort of sales arsenal that I've got from my jobs. That's for sure.
Yeah. Something that you just to pick up on a lot
Mm,
of your sort of biggest lessons you learn from previous experience is often kind of what not to do, right? So when you sort of that manager who maybe micromanage you a bit too much, you kind of like, right, that's actually maybe not how to do it. They're the things that tend to stick with you often. I don't know, from previous experience and all I found anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's you hit the nail on the head, 100%. And you look at things, you think, oh yeah, I probably wouldn't do it that way, but
Yeah. So mate, just going sort of full circle, back to your
Mm.
business a little bit.
Yeah,
The focus is entry level salespeople.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
it's something it's so interesting because they're individuals coming into the world of to work, often maybe their first corporate job. They
Mhm.
don't necessarily have the experience. A lot of people and companies are hiring. They're looking for a certain sort of set of attributes and character
Mhm.
traits and those kind of things. I know obviously your training, by the sound of things, helps them with maybe some more tactical side of things. But I know something
Mhm.
you're passionate about and keen to discuss is maybe that entry level salesperson, the
Mhm.
character traits that they hold, which allows them to potentially be successful in sales.
Yeah,
What do you think and what do you believe those main traits are?
yeah. So look, I would call it more as we touched on this a little bit before. I pretty much give them the skills that they need to get a entry level sales job, right? They can prospect, they can close deals. But the most important thing I teach them is two things when it comes to, I suppose you can say this it apply to any job or any level, but especially for somebody learning, is grit. So you need grit, right? You need to have the mindset of you need to pick yourself up and sort of move on. You're going to be calling and calling, and you're going to get no's and no's and no's. So I think from the get go, I don't make it pretty, Joe. And this is why some people do drop
Mm.
out of my course because sales isn't for
Yeah.
everybody. There's some people that just can't do that, and that's completely okay. They're on their own path, right? But grit is one of them. Having a sort of a mindset of, I can push through any sort of objection or any sort of issues that I have. And the second one is curiosity. I think curiosity is probably the
Yeah.
biggest one. I would say is be curious. Be curious about why you get to a new job. Why do they have these sales processes? Oh, they have this because they're closing it out. Parts of the script. Why are we saying this in the script? If you're getting no's from customers, if you're getting hung up, maybe not hung up, and you can't kind of somebody hangs up on you. But if you're getting no's from customers asking, what was the issue? Why didn't we get along with that meeting? If you're getting training, asking why are you getting that training? I think when you start to question and you're curious about, um, you know, everything that you're doing in your first role, you're going to learn it a lot quicker, right? Because it sort of sinks in a lot easier, I think, as well. And the third thing as well is, which sort of ties onto that as well.
Sorry, mate, I just lost you there, I think. Hey, Ryan. I haven't got you, mate. You're on. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Ryan, you there? No, I can't hear. No, mate, I can't hear. Don't worry. I'm gonna. I'll end it. I'll end it.